Ready?
Yep. Absolutely. Sorry.
Hey, what's... Okay.
1, 2, 3, go.
Scene. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? The team from Android Authority is here at Google I/O 2017 at the Shoreline Amphitheater, not too far away from the Google campus in Mountain View. Now, it's a lot similar to last year's events. It's all outdoors. It's like an outdoor festival. But we just got out of the Google I/O Keynote, where there were a lot of different announcements. Now, last year we were given a little bit of a glimpse into what the future of I/O would be, and it's less, I guess the right term would be product facing. It's a little bit more, it's definitely a developer conference more than anything else now. So we don't have a whole lot to talk about by way of smartphones and everything, but what powers them, there's a lot to talk about there. So we have a couple of topics that we wanted to talk about, a couple of things that really jazzed us during the keynote, and Kris, Carlin, and Nirave here are going to give us some of their thoughts.
I think the best thing that I saw was the Google Photos stuff.
Oh yeah. You were smiling during that. Like you thought those were good.
Because I'm a terrible human being. I don't share my photos at all.
Bold move by Google, by the way.
Yeah, that was
call us that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But I mean, yeah, anything that we can do, well, that Google can do for us to make sharing and organizing photos better is something everyone's going to use on the daily, and I think that's going to be huge. It's totally going to change just the visual fabric of what everybody shares online, because suddenly you will actually have all of the photos that relate to you instead of just the ones that you happen to get a hold of or that you shot yourself.
So it feels like a lot of prior setup is required for this kind of thing.
Question is, who doesn't use Google?
Yeah.
Because almost everybody uses, I mean, unless you are on AOL, at which point you have bigger issues than what we're talking about in Google I/O today. Who isn't using a Gmail account? And the information you give up from there is enough for them to make at least a reference point. And then if they're like, so is Ryan Vergara's email, oh look, this is, he's entered his information, and then, okay, we've seen him in pictures with you before. And there's enough that you can infer from that to be relatively accurate.
So we're not going to go too in-depth with our topics right now. If you want more in-depth analysis when it comes to everything that was announced at the keynote, we have all of the content on AndroidAuthority.com, and also we're going to be doing a full-length podcast a little bit later this week. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and pop it over to Nirave for your most jazzy, is that the right term? Yeah.
So I'm going to take Assistant, and I think there's a couple of things here, like Assistant combined with Google Lens is essentially about to completely redefine, voice, well, artificial intelligence in any way that we kind of deal with it as it is now. So let's take a look at the couple of factors. You've got Assistant on Siri. I mean, Assistant on iOS.
Oh, Assistant on Siri.
Assistant on Siri would be killer. But Google Assistant on iOS pretty much signals at least the death of Siri, apart from the fact it won't be quite as integrated as Siri is. But when you have the ability to have all this information that Google contextually knows about you because you use Gmail services, I use Gmail all the time, and if I get a flight confirmation sent to my email, I will get updates on Google Assistant going, it's been delayed, or you need to leave now. Once people realize that's exactly what Assistant can offer you on iOS, it's gonna be quite difficult for Apple to combat that, especially with the amount that Google's already plowed into Assistant. I'm sorry to say it, but Samsung, Bixby, unless you're willing to launch the full suite within a couple of months, you are now playing catch up.
Yeah. What's worse than dead on arrival?
Yeah.
Dead on arrival, but late as well.
Google just out Bixby'd it.
Yeah. Late to the dead on arrival party.
Technically, all this stuff you have used or seen before. Yeah. It's just that they're putting it all into Assistant, which actually makes a lot of sense.
The Android Pay, especially, I forgot about that. That's probably the ability to just go
buy stuff.
Just order from Panera without having to, because I mean, if you use Google Maps on the iPhone or even on Android, you can order an Uber, have it all integrated, and not have to worry a bit. It can just do it all from Google Maps. Now from Assistant, literally dial up Panera. Once these all supported, dial up Domino's. No apps needed, no accounts needed, no setting up of anything. And in a lot of ways, Google's just taking the the Android Pay ecosystem, the Google checkout, and now they're taking on PayPal. Because that's what a lot of what PayPal does for you now is, but you still have to go via that website and do it all. Yeah. When you now do it from one app on your phone, there's no 10 apps to download, there's none of that. Why would you use any other payment method when it's so easy? And that's probably the crux of everything Google's trying, is ease of use. If it's super simple to use, you're going to use it.
in my case, my topic will probably not take up a whole lot of time because I just want to say that I'm glad Google is continuously trying to bolster the budget market. Now Android Go is taking that same idea, but I think the layer that's on top of it is incredibly compelling because not only do people in emerging markets get to have devices that have Android Go apps on it, so could we. We could actually download Go-made apps and use them in the same vein.
People in India, people in any developing a market, they want Android, they want the best that they can get. They don't want some rubbish version of Android or some low-powered phone that's super, it's sluggish, it's boring, it puts you off and literally turns you off because you're better off having a better experience of a feature phone. Google seems to have realized that because by offering, I'd say the key difference Go versus One is that it now looks to be a lot more tailored. It actually looks to be, we are going after this and this is a long-term commitment to connecting that next billion, to making sure if you are in a market where you're paying extortionate amounts of money and you're stuck on 3G or you've got limited amounts of resources and you're like, their key point was, why should I be spending data on this?
Anything else you want to add, Kris, before we sign off?
Speaking of developers, Developer Preview 2 is out.
Yep.
The first beta, the previous version was the alpha, so there will be some new features and there will be probably some taken away, but we haven't flashed it yet, so we don't actually know. So you guys will probably have it on your devices before we do. I gotta say, I think like we've just said about the Keynote, it's sort of all about ease of use and maturation. And I think that's sort of the same for Android O. Everything's getting more, like the last few versions of Android have gotten more polished and it's tightening the bolts and just tidying things up and getting everything working in a way that's really rich and easy.
Well, there's a ton coming from Google I/O. We're going to talk about even more stuff like Android Auto, which actually is going to be shifting to something called Android Cars, because some of these manufacturers might actually be tailoring a version of Android made specifically for their automobiles. And of course, Android Wear, which I'm actually not wearing an Android Wear watch now, but we're going to see what Android Wear has coming in the next couple of days. I just left it at home, don't worry. But in any case, keep it tuned to Android Authority for all the best coverage of Google I/O 2017. Follow our social media where we're going to give you recap galleries of various pictures that we took throughout the day on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And from there, make sure you keep it tuned to the Android Authority YouTube channel for even more from I/O 17 is the hashtag. Google I/O 2017. Because we are your source for all things
Android.
I/O.
Google.
2017.